Welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do appreciate you for tuning on in here on a beautiful Saturday here. Sun is shining bright, and that's always nice. Little bonus show this week, as there was a topic that I had to cover. A little something that came down the pike here about the last week and a half. Kind of flew under the radar, I think, from a lot of Hawk fans, but it was kind of an interesting thing for me nonetheless. You've got your Seattle Seahawks. Over the last 3 years, they have been winning team. They've had a winning team. They got the playoffs 1 year, but they've had a winning record all of those 3 seasons, including coming off the heels last year in Mike McDonald's first year of 10 wins. Looks good there, but yet Seattle Seahawks for 2025 have been dubiously pegged by Vegas as a team that's going to finish last place in this division. Yeah, even below the lowly Arizona Cardinals. They've got them above us for next year. So you're going, whoa, what's going on? 7.5 wins. Bottom of the division, but then we also have to think about this where Vegas also last year had the Seattle Seahawks wrong too, and exactly the same win total. 7.5 wins is what they predicted last year, and they missed that boat so badly they're still stuck out on the dock trying to pay a guy with a pontoon to get him to the next harbor. But, could it be that they're seeing something we're not? That there's maybe a crack here in a team that would appear to be a no doubt about it, a team that's absolutely going to improve, especially with what would appear to be on the surface somewhat easier schedule this year than what we've dealt with in recent years. It's hard to know quite for sure, what the prediction model is based on here and why Vegas is landing at this spot. I think that we can make a couple of different predictions as to why, and I'm going to jump into a couple different little things here quickly to kind of give you guys an indication of what I think is occurring here and why they've put them at this 7.5 win total. First, I think a lot of this has to speak to Vegas's confidence in the improvement of other teams in this division, the Rams being able to maintain, the 49ers bouncing back, and then the Cardinals continuing their steady improvement. Because over the last couple of years, the Cardinals have had a steady improvement here under Gannon. I think they doubled their win total last year from where they were at with Gannon under the first year. So it's a little bit of confidence within the teams in the division with the easier schedule the teams in this division have, and I'm going to show you in a second, but the teams in this division all have really easy schedules, including the Niners, which there may not be an easier one in the entire NFL than them. And so this is a little bit of that indicator back to that Vegas thinks this is just a little bit better with them on that side. And then you combine this with probably also being able to read the tea leaves on this one, that they look at Geno being flopped out for Sam Darnold, DK being flopped out for Cooper Kupp. Maybe they're still not having quite the confidence some Seahawks fans do right now in regards to the offensive line being fully fixed at this point, that maybe they still feel like there are some lingering questions here in regards to the offensive line. And if there's one thing Vegas doesn't like, it's unknowns. It's like having a Fed in the crew. You know what I mean? We got to suss this red out. You know what I mean? Got to suss them out. So let's look at a little bit of where, like I said, the strength of schedule could be really impacting this one a little bit. And Sharp Statistics came out with this, and I thought this was very interesting. When you look at Vegas's preseason predictions for each team's win total, you can create a more predictive strength of schedule model than the current one based on last year's schedule. So when you hear about people talking about strength of schedule, it's all on last year's strength of schedule. And we've had a whole offseason, we've had a whole draft, we've had a whole free agent period, we've had all those trades. And so using that as your strength of schedule is probably not quite as accurate as a little bit of maybe to where this Vegas predictive modeling goes. So Vegas has all these season predictions out for all these teams, and then this gives you more of a kind of better calculated strength of schedule, if you were, as you can see a little bit on this graphic. So that's why I kind of like this one a little bit better than basing it on the prior year. When you look at this, you've got three NFC West teams come out with easier schedules than by average in the rest of the NFL. So you're in the red here. That means you're in a back 15 as far as the hard part of the schedule. You got a harder, better than 500 record you're going up against. You're in the green half. You've got less than a 500 record you're going up against as far as your total common opponents, predictive record for this upcoming season. And so what you see with this is we've got 3 NFC West teams. The Seahawks just barely above the Mendoza line there, as they're a little bit easier than not. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals a little bit above them at 11th with the 11th easiest schedule in the NFL. And then if you look all the way over, and I know I'm going to have to show you because it's almost freaking off the board. If you look all the way up at the top left-hand corner here, you're going to see the San Francisco 49ers with by far, not even close, by far, the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. And so this is where I think a lot of this is probably coming from. Even in the Rams, a team that was a first-place team last year, you look over at them, they're 20th. So it's not even like they have the daunting kind of schedules of a Chiefs team, of a Vikings team, of an Eagles team, of a Lions team that had been playoff teams the prior year. They're still getting a chance to, kind of feast on the lesser amount. And this has to do with kind of the common schedule we all kind of play and the divisions we're playing this year and how that all kind of, boils down on that. So Vegas is sort of predicting this from their standpoint of a sound place, the unknowns that break into this a little bit. But it did kind of get me thinking. It got me a little suspicious. I can be a bit of a paranoid guy from time to time. You know what I mean? It's just the way I work. It's the way my mind works sometimes. But it got me thinking. It sure does kind of seem like Vegas undersells the Seahawks quite a bit. Like every year that they're going in and they've got us a little bit lower. And I can't understand quite why, because obviously it's not in Vegas's interest to do it. So I decided to go back through the data a little bit here and take a look and see if this was really, truly the case. And you know what I found? It's true. Looking at the last 10 years, I'm going to post this little graphic here over my left-hand side. And now this is going to be a little bit subject to change because it depends on the bookmaker you're looking at. And most of these bookmakers are pretty close in alignment. So even if mine's off by a little bit of what might be another bookmaker in 2016, what they had, it's pretty much apples for apples on this one. And what you see on this is going to be the preseason win prediction total in the second column from the left. And then you're going to see the actual record. Then you see on the far right-hand column, the difference as far as how off they were. If they predicted 11 wins like they did in 2015 and you only got 10 wins, then Vegas was off by -1. But what you see on this, and what's very interesting about this, is that they don't tend to be in that direction of things. So in the last 10 years, depending on the bookmaker, Vegas has only gotten one Seattle Seahawks year right in 2016, which kind of coincidentally was the year where they had a tie, which allowed them to be right on it with their 10.5 win total, which is kind of crazy. But so they've only been right once in 2016. We've got 6 other times that they predicted too low of a win total, and 3 times in the last 10 years where they've predicted too high of a win total. Now, what's even more interesting on this, though, is that over the last 7 years, they've only overpredicted the Seahawks once in that last recent 7 years. So Vegas is having a really hard time kind of gauging Seattle, and then they tend to undergauge us every single time here, and definitely in recent history. In those 6 times in the last 10 years that Vegas has undersold the Seahawks, they have been off by nearly 2.5 games on average. So they'll put us at 7, we'll be at 9.5. Over those 6 times that's occurred, that's been the average. That's a pretty big average. And to counter that, when they've missed in those other 3 games by over-predicting the Seahawks win total, they've only been 1.5 games over. So when they get it wrong under, it's 2.5. When they get it wrong over, it's only 1.5. Not to mention, you're half the time in 10 years getting that over, that you're landing on that over. So it is a little bit of, I think, some data here that does kind of add up a little bit on this one and does kind of fit the form. And so it does just get me thinking a little bit on this that, maybe again here, they very much could be off and could be wrong and missing the boat just once more, just still stuck out on that dock. Now it is in Vegas's best interest, to get these kind of things right. They have a monetary reason to make sure that, they're going to get these correct and that they're not in the business of losing money. The house, as they say, always wins. But last year, I was a guy telling you guys, man, that 7.5 win total there just doesn't look right to me. McDonald's going to be able to get this thing going a little bit faster. This team's got a little bit more talent than that. I just don't quite see how this is going to be where they land. And the big part that, to me, on this makes this look like a bet that's kind of a fool's bet if you're trying to take the under on this, is the Seahawks have kind of a pretty princess row of opponents set up for them next year. The Colts, the Saints that just had Derek Carr retire, Falcons, Panthers, Jaguars, Titans, an ever-growing strange Steelers team where it may be, again, Mason Rudolph as their quarterback, though he came in here and whooped our ass 2 years ago, so maybe I should be fearing the great Mason Rudolph at this point. And then you get a smack around the Cardinals twice a year. So there does sure seem like there's at least 8 wins there on the schedule. Whether or not they get to a 10 or 11 or 12 win or can push for the division, we'll see on that part of it. But I do see it being a pretty tough road to get to 7.5 wins. That speaks to me of having, again, a catastrophe with the offensive line, having Sam Darnold start to see ghosts again like he did back in his New York days. It just doesn't really add up to me on looking into this. And when you cross-reference it back to the fact that Vegas has gotten this wrong pretty often, and when they've gotten it wrong pretty often, they've gotten it wrong underselling us pretty highly, One might look at this and say it's going to be a pretty good bet on this going forward on this, that we're going to get over the top of that one. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you feel like Vegas is missing the boat a little bit on this one? Do you think that they've maybe are seeing something that us with our homer eyes or not? I know that I haven't been huge on this team necessarily taking the monster step forward this next year. I hope they do. But I don't think I ever really see them at like a 7-win, 7.5. That seems definitely really, really low. But I want to show you guys this today. I meant to get to this week at some point and just couldn't quite get to it, but I did think it was kind of interesting. And man, they did this way last year, and somebody last year, I'm sure in the Seahawks fan base, made themselves some pretty good money, because last year it looked like a kind of a foolish spot where they had us pegged in at 7.5 wins as it stood, and it looks even more so right now, especially considering that schedule it may not be full cupcake, but you got frosting, you're peeling off the little covering around it. It looks a lot like a cupcake. I'll say that. A couple donations here. And again, just a quick show today. We're going to be back on with the members show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. God's Gang says, how do they think we got worse in the offseason? I think that's a great question within this, and I don't know if I've got a really good answer. I mean, I can make those three main guesses that you can point to, because really you don't have anything else that you can point to. The defense returns all the starters. Everybody's basically coming back. You lost nobody. And if anything, you're getting even stronger defensively with the draft class that you brought in, with Uchenna Nwosu coming back in there, with the Lawrence that you've added into the fray on that side of it. I don't see where the defense takes some big, huge step back. And if anything, they look like they're able to more carry the load than ever moving into this season. So you go to the offense and you go, okay, what did you lose offensively? Well, Tyler Lockett, I mean, he was fine for us last year. He had some moments, still a little bit left in the tank, but his contract shows with Tennessee out there and the options he had available, I don't think he was game-changing things last year. You didn't get a ton from Noah Fant. You lose DK and you lose Geno. That's kind of those two things I go to in the offensive line. And it just feels like, to me, Vegas is saying, we don't believe in Sam Darnold. We don't think Cooper Kupp's health is going to hold up. And we think that offensive line isn't fixed. And I almost have to do this just by that process of elimination to the other positions, because those things haven't, to your point on this, God's Gang, gotten worse or taken a step back. But that's their thinking on this. And it does feel a little bit odd on this one. I would have said Vegas had us at like 9 wins. That seems like more of a certain bet there for Vegas on this one than this one. They again seem like they're a game and a half or 2.5 games off, as they have been on average when they have undersold us over the last 10 years. I mean, that's been the spot. So if anything, if we want to kind of match this to recent history, God's Gang, this would tell us that we're going to get up around 10 wins this year if it continues to fit to form. Y2K, thank you for the $5 donation, Y2K. Can we go over my draft strategy for Dynasty in the member call-in show? I got 3 first-round picks in an early second. Only rookies. Yeah, man, it's going to be an open discussion tomorrow. So if members of the channel, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll go on 5 o'clock. We'll go nice and long tomorrow. But whatever the discussion wants to kind of touch on or cover, I'm happy to cover it, man. Always fun to talk some fantasy. I will say, Y2K, I've not proven to be the best fantasy player. I do okay. I'm usually in the top half, but I always have some kind of fatal flaw in my structuring of drafting or team building concept that seems to be a bit off. I can't quite get the right rhythm with my fantasy stuff. But I'm happy to give out advice. I'm happy to try to see if I can lead you down the right road on it, my man. Absolutely. And we will be doing 5 o'clock tomorrow. So if you're a member of the channel, keep an eye on your community posts. That's where I post membership benefits. I'll repost that link tomorrow before the show if you haven't seen it already, but do keep an eye out on that on the community post, because that's where I do post those benefits. HHG, thank you for the $2 donation. Says May 12th, 5 p.m. Schedule release. Mark it, y'all. Well, let's mark it, man. Let's do it. And I will probably go live once I've got the schedule busted out as far as I'm seeing what I'm seeing on it. So count on that probably being what we do once I got the release of the schedule and we know what's what, and we'll break it down and go through it. We have rumors right now, HHG, what I'm hearing, and there seems to be a pretty strong amount of heat to this, that the Seattle Seahawks are going to get the Minnesota Vikings in the first game of the season at home, which would be great. We got to have the benefit last year of having Bo Nix essentially in his first rookie start having to walk in the home opener into Lumen Field. And that was not an easy environment for that rookie. A lot of ways here, the same thing with the rookie they're going to run out there with Minnesota, where he hasn't played a game. I know he's had a year there in the house and he'll be prepared, but McCarthy's going to walk in with his first start in potentially a really, really daunting spot there for rookie quarterbacks, not to mention McDonald's defense. And I hope we do get the Vikings at home in the first game. That's about the right spot to catch them at the right time of year versus McCarthy getting his feet under him and maybe, 3/4 of the way into the year, he starts to really catch fire and get hot or something. I can see them being a lot better more toward the end of the year than the start. But thank you for the note on that, HHG. We will probably be going live twice on Monday. So we got a Riley Mills breakdown. We're going to be looking at the big brawler from Notre Dame. And then we'll probably go back on with the schedule release on later that afternoon when it comes out. 14th. Sorry, it's the 14th. I was like, is it Monday? I thought it was a little bit later than that. So, okay. So it'll be the 14th we go live once we got the news on that. Thank you for the correction on that, HHG. But absolutely, yeah, we'll do it. AA, 7.5 wins. How do I bet against us? How do I bet against this? Well, it's a little bit tough for you if you're in Washington and even some states. In California state, you can do certain kind of bets, can't do certain other kind of bets. So you've got to find some creative fashions and ways around being able to get onto one of those betting sites that doesn't register in the Washington state, because there's a little bit of the big brother, kind of keeping you away from it a little bit on this one with that. Just a little bit. Yeah, Martin, I don't see how the Seahawks are the worst team in the division as well. I like the moves the Cardinals are making. I can appreciate the fact that they have taken some steps forward as a team to incrementally improve under Gannon, and that's not to be, undersold. And look, with Cardinals, the way that they play, the brand of game that they play, you've got to give a tip of the hat to them, because Gannon has got that team playing hard. They played above their talent level at times over the last couple of years. But have they really rounded out that roster in a major way to make you feel like that's going to take a big step forward? And that receiving core is Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride and not a lot else. There's not a lot of depth there. There's not a lot of dynamicism there past those guys. I think the line's still kind of in a bit of a shaky state. I don't trust Kyler Murray. Defensively, you love what they've done with the defensive line, but there is still, question. Is Josh Sweat going to be working as good there as he was working out at Philadelphia? They're going to finally get something out of the Robinson kid that they drafted last year? What about Ojolari, who's been injured multiple times over and can't, like his brother, just can't stay out on the football field? So I really struggle with that one to see us in last place as well. I can respect the fact that the Rams have a good chance of being a really good team once again, and the Niners certainly could be set up to be having a little bit of a bounce back when you consider, that schedule. I look at this graph here from Sharp, and the Niners are almost off the chart for easy's sake. That is beyond the realm of easy. It's like almost their little graphic logo is just about off the green. And so you go, okay, yeah, maybe that makes a little bit of sense. The fact that, they're putting them in this way, because they're going, look, the schedule is just too easy. There's too many, they're going to get these wins. And if guys can get a little healthier there for Niners this year, if they can do well from this draft returns and get the guys cooking like they're hoping they can, the 3-tech run stuffers that they drafted, or not the 3, they got the 1-tech and the 3-tech. They did CJ West, and they did the kid out of Texas, Alfred Collins. So they're going to look to reinforce the run game. We'll see if that's enough to get it done. I don't know on that one, but I can get where they're coming from on the Niner one. I get it less on the Cardinal one. That just looks like, well, they doubled the win total, and he had a good first year, and okay, so we're just going to keep them going on up. And I don't know if I buy into that one as much. God's Gang, thank you for the $2 donation. Do you think we keep McIntosh on this team? I do. Yeah. I think you're going to run with 4 running backs, I believe. He may not be active every game day, God's Gang, but I don't think that you're going to just run out there with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet on game days and say, okay, we'll do that, and we'll have our fullback, and then that's going to be what we're going to run. I would think that you're going to probably potentially carry one less tight end if you're going to carry the fullback. So it's 2 tight ends you're going with now. But then that doesn't help as far as who's going to stay as far as Fant or Arroyo, if that's going to be the case. I am making a bit of prediction on this one. That's how that'll play out. But I think that it's going to come down to probably letting Fant go, carry the 2 tight ends, carry the fullback. You've got the 3 running backs that'll be the active guys game day. Now, whether he's active or Damian Martinez is active is maybe the question on that one. But I think those are your 4 running backs. Martinez is going to be the 4th. And is Martinez a better back than McIntosh? He's a different back. And I think what doesn't hurt McIntosh for making the team on this, but just maybe hurts him for having a role and being able to go out there and take some carries and do something with the God's Gang, is the Martinez comes in and gives you an element that you don't have on the roster, which is a power back. a short yardage kind of back. It's not really Zach Charbonnet's game. And the data just really does back this up, that on, third and goals, third and shorts, third and ones, fourth and ones, you're giving the ball to McIntosh. He's not really a hammer in that way. Kind of looks like one, but he's not really one in how it plays out on the football field. So that's where he makes the team, but now does he slide God's gang a little bit more into that fourth running back role at that spot at that point, because the team loves what they have in Martinez to be able to have a guy that can wear defenses down and can go get those half yards when they need, 2 yards when they need, and just he'll get after and get it done. That's going to be maybe the hard part. The good part with McIntosh, though, is that he does just have a really unique skill set that you also don't really have on this roster from a third down running back standpoint of things. His ability to run routes and catch the football, be like a receiver when he lines out wide. You don't have the other guys in the roster that really do that stuff. So hard to quite see how this all shakes out. All 4 backs do make the team, I think, here. It's Holani that's on the outside looking in. But Martinez is such a hammer, man. And you've been missing that element on this team in recent years of having a guy when it gets into 3rd and 1 who can plow his way through going and getting that first down. Doesn't need it blocked right. Doesn't need just don't have penetration. I'll go get the first down. That's all I need you to do. And so I think Martinez will probably be that guy, God's gang. Herbicide, we are live, man. We're just kind of doing a quick, I know I said we're going to do a quick show here today. We've done a little bit longer ones here this week, but this will be a quick one today. Randall McDaniel, thank you for the $2 donation, Randall. Maybe Las Vegas has a rule of 1 to 1.5 games less for a quarterback change. Ooh, that's a great possibility there, Randall. Where maybe this is more like they're using a subset of data that they've got, where it's on average, because there's so much, with Vegas and compiling this stuff. I think back in the day it was guys throwing it at a dartboard. You'd have 5 guys from Brooklyn in a room, and they're like, I think Seattle, they lost the quarterback this year. You know what I mean? They lost the quarterback. I don't think they're going to be as good. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be as good. I'm going to tell you, though, I think maybe they'll be a little better. Donald, people underselling Donald. He's getting better. He's coming along. No, you're off. You're off there. Billy Shake, show off. I'm telling you this now. The man's not going to be nothing. He's a nothing out there. He's going to be a bum. He's a bum. The team's going to be a bum. That was how they used to old school do it. And now, they probably got a bunch of nerds in there with calculators and they're just going through the numbers. And so to your point on that, Randall, you've got 300 quarterback changes that have occurred in the last 20 years or whatever in the NFL. And then you take that data and you look at it and you go, of those teams that made that flip out, what was their next record the next year from moving on from that quarterback that had been that starter for a couple of years? And like you say, the data probably bears out pretty strongly that you take a step backwards and that, you are going to lose games as a team then because of that. I think that the problem with that, though, does come into if you use that, because I truly believe, Randall, that possibly is a calculation point they're using here. But I think it's also a problematic one because you don't tend to be able to go from one very competent starter to another competent starter. The change is going to be in the tendency of going from your competent starter, the guy that's been there for a while, to, now we got to go to a rookie. Now we got a guy that was just drafted. That would be probably the commonality you'd see, and that's, of course, not what we're introducing here as far as that change goes. So I can understand using that formula and leaning on it, and I don't think you're wrong. I think Vegas definitely probably has something like that they calculate into this. But in this given situation, this could be where you could see a bit of the failure point in their formula, because you're not really taking account then Darnold. You're not really concentrating him as much where Darnold's at in his career, or that he's not that far of a drop from a Geno. You're calculating it more to the mean, to the standard, being that it is that sort of rookie QB that's going to come out there and kind of throw up on himself on occasion and just have those rookie moments where he's still just kind of learning to lose you football games, essentially. But a great point there, Randall. Definitely a great point on that one. Washington Fish Quest. Thank you for the $2 donation, Washington Fish Quest. Vegas has Hawks Nest at 16.5 wins. Take the over. Let's go. Hey, at least they're not underselling all of us, I guess, Washington Fish Quest. You know what I mean? At least they're giving us a little bit of love. And it's pretty surprising to see that kind of data to where they're that off in a 10-year period 6 times. 6 times. And then you're off in 6 times over the last 10 years, and you're off tremendously so. I mean, 2.5 games on average is a significant difference for a Vegas group that just tends to be, how many times have you guys probably put bets out on stuff and you're like, how did they get it right on the button like that? How could they have predicted it right on the spot like that? I mean, I've got some bad beats this year off the over-unders off Underdog Fantasy that was just like, whoa, dude, like, how did they get it that close? Like, it was right on the blind. It's like, is AI doing this stuff now? Are we to the AI point? So being 2.5 wins underneath and missing so very often in recent history like Vegas has, maybe a market opportunity for a Seattle Seahawks fan, you know? Nothing better than going out there and getting playoffs or going and winning the division, and then you put a little bit of money in your pocket in addition to it, you know? You make a little bit of money off the back of your team in addition. Not too bad. Final breath, we have 5 running backs. We do technically have 5 running backs, and so final breath, you know, you would typically have, you'd have 4 running backs in the past, you'd have 3 tight ends, and so the offshoot on this that you're going to see, or at least that I've tended to see with West Coast offensive teams, is if they're going to carry the fullback goes here, tight end goes there, you still end up with the same numbers game as you had before. You're just pulling off 1 tight end to make him a fullback, and then when you want to go to 3 tight end sets, you either bring out the 6th offensive lineman, a la like what we did back in the day with the Super Bowl run, you know, we bring out like Alvin Bailey out and have him be your, you know, extra tight end. Or, of course, you can just pump out the fullback and make him your 3rd tight end at that point. This is a bit of a guess on this one, final breath, but I think that's the way this one's probably going to go. God's gang, the Brooklyn accent was classic. Thank you, man. We make moves out here. You know what I mean? We're laying bets. We're bringing you in. We're like fishermen out here, you know? We go out in the bay. We drop a guy with some cement shoes. We do a little fishing. We make a few bets. A mill here, a mill there. There we go. AA, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to finish this off right on this one, AA. That the offensive line is going to be the big key here on this one. And the Seattle Seahawks have been very, very committed and very certain in their approach in telling Seahawks fans, look, this is the issues here are more of an extension of the coaching and the development. The coaching and development. And we need to do a better job of that we don't believe it is how we've drafted or how infrequently we draft offensive linemen. It is more to this part of it. And they've leaned heavily in telling you that. They haven't wavered. They haven't said it's a bit of this and it's a bit of that. And I think that does give you some confidence in that they feel like they're putting their foot down on this tail of a problem. This is what it is. Lock it in. And when you look at the coaches that they have brought in and the track record of those guys, the pedigree of those guys, it fits to being that these are guys that are going to come in and be able to improve this unit in that development. I pointed to, and it was one of the things I loved about Kubiak and why I locked so much on him and the staff that he was going to bring, is that when you looked at Kubiak with the New Orleans Saints in his first year, he had all of those offensive linemen playing at a career best level. And it didn't matter whether it was a star guy that was already solidified in this league, who was already the full meal deal like an Eric McCoy down there at center, or whether it was a young pup like Fuanga coming in that was going to be a rookie that was going to have to start immediately, or whether he was going to bring a backup in off the bench who hadn't had a really good track record of playing very good football at all. He rose all of those guys up, and it was through the development, it was through the play calling, it's through Kubiak being a damn good offensive coordinator and having a really good staff. So I think they're leaning on that heavily, and hopefully it can pay off. I would have personally liked to seen a little bit maybe more of hammering this offensive line and getting it to a little bit more of a certainty, because you are a league worst unit last year, and all you have done really at the end of the day here, when you boil it all down, where you go, okay, this is a league worst unit, we got to get this thing improved. You got the development, you got the coaching, but you drafted a guy in the first round, Zabel, who might end up just being a center. You got Cable Dew, who's going to have to transition from tackle to guard, and then you got Josh Jones. And so that's not exactly, kind of hammering it wholly, but I will admit the team's very confident in their ability in saying, look, it is the talent is there, and we've got to get the development upped. And maybe that will be the place that we do see that this is them being really right on this one and on button with it. And as much as anything, it's going to be the key to this upcoming season. 12-4 live. Thank you for over a year, man, of as a Hawks Nest member. I really thank you for that, and I do appreciate it. It says, this aggression will not stand, man. Let's effing go Hawks. No, it will not. No, it will not. And we're just going to keep taking Vegas's money if this is what they're going to do, 12. This is what we're going to do. You keep taking you're going to keep underselling. We're going to take your money till you get it right. Till you get it right, Vegas. You want to get it right. And I would have liked Wilson in the third as well. I'm not I'm not crying tears about the fact you didn't do more. I'm going to trust in a little bit of the authority on this one, that they have a real feel for it on this situation as far as the development goes. And I can't undersell the fact that, look, I was not impressed by either of the last two offensive line coaches that have come through here. They did not do anything that made you go, wow, they're so impactful. Wow, they're bringing these guys really forward. So that does add up. That's not just an excuse. That's something that you do feel from the side of, yeah, that's what I've seen from these guys. Nobody's coming really forward in major ways. Anthony Bradford in 3 years come forward at all as a football player? Not really. Kind of is just sort of what he is, walk in the door, real raw prospect that's got a lot of physical gifts to him. So that's, I think, a valid thing on this. It is a valid thing, and I'm hopeful that it can roll. So glad to hear you're excited, and I'm excited too. And if the line can click in, if they can get that development, if it is really that was the missing secret sauce to the whole puzzle, then this team's got so much more upside to their potential this upcoming season. Not just the future, not just future years, but 2025. That line can get up to a solidified point, even league average. Just league average. You get to that stage with the defense taking the steps forward it'll take, knowing you're going to be committed to run the ball. I think it's going to be an improved special teams unit next year. You put all that together, and that's absolutely a team that can get up into that 10, 11, 12 win mark if that can kind of click in that way. But that will be the key. That will be the key of the whole thing. I think we feel pretty confident about Mike McDonald's defense that's going to be fine. That's going to take its steps forward. The talent's going to come together. You've added some more weapons for him here this offseason to make it even better. So that part's not to be undersold. But it's really the offense. It's really about whether it can come together in a really quick way. And that offensive line especially, can it come forward? I really thank you guys today for watching. We're going to be keeping this going all through this off season. So Monday through Friday minimum, we're going to have a show every day for you guys at 12 o'clock. We're going to have some days where we're going to do multiple shows. It's going to be kind of that way. It sounds like on Wednesday, where we'll be having a Wednesday show, and then we're going to be doing the schedule release during the evening. So we'll be doing a twofer on that. Members of the channel will be back Sunday tomorrow, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be doing a members show, so keep a lookout on your community post for that on that side of it. I thank you guys for all of the very kind donations here today, and as well as everybody riding with me on a little bit of this change of programming on this. We are going to still do the play-by-play stuff during the season and try to amp things up as we get into the year. Just want to kind of get more of this solidified daily show out and then expand from here. That's the hope in doing this, is that we can expand and get you guys just other different, more content that's just a little bit more separated in what we're kind of getting out to you guys. So that's kind of the hope in all this and what we're trying to do. I do thank you guys for watching today. As I said, if you can, do me that favor. It does help me out, and hit that like button. It helps me show up in the algorithm for people looking for hot content. Appreciate you guys hanging with me here on a Saturday. I hope you have a great Mother's Day tomorrow. Don't forget to get her a car, get her some flowers. Come on, she's your mother. She's your mother. She birthed you. She raised you. She loved you. Show her the love, show her the affection. Don't you forget on that side of it. I thank you guys for watching today. Back tomorrow with members, but appreciate you for a great first week here with the new content and the way that we're kind of pushing out on that. Back soon, but until next time, Vegas may be underselling us. They may be looking at us saying, "Oh, you guys are a little tiny, a little small, aren't you? You guys are little back-end divisioners, aren't you? You're the caboose of the NFC West, aren't you?" Well, they can say it all they want. And all that sounds good and well in May. But once this rubber meets the road, once we get to see what this team really can truly do, you better believe they're going to be past 7.5 wins. And maybe this is the year this finally does click in here after 10 years of kind of waiting for a team to get back into that contending state. But I think the Hawks are on the right road. And I think whether it's going to come next year or be a little bit longer than that, they are moving in the right direction. They're making smart moves, and they're building up this team intelligently. And that should have you having their back. Thank you for watching. Back soon. But until next time, please don't you ever forget. Don't you do it. It's the off season, but we're about to come around and have a great year. Don't forget. Go Hawks.